I went to Brentwood Skate this weekend.
Oh, nice. How'd you do?
I didn't fall.
I'm about to say, that's going to be my next question.
I said I did not fall.
That's good then.
Welcome to another episode of The Black Codes. I am one piece of the Black Codes puzzle, Trevor Gwynn. Today we have a special guest with us, Mr. Brandon Harden. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. No, we really glad to have you. Of course, Brandon, you know, I'm excited. For those of you who don't know, I've had the opportunity to work with Brandon for the last, what's it been, like a year and a half?
About a little bit over a year, yep.
Yeah, so Brandon and I work at this company, Civic Hacker, with our mentor. And if you walked up to us, anybody walk up to us on the street and ask us how's the experiences at Civic Hacker, you're gonna get 15, 20 different responses, and like all of them are gonna be positive. Like what we've been able to do on an individual growth level, on a career growth level, on a social impact level has been like incredible. And that's one thing I wanted to allow us the opportunity to kind of like, I guess this is gonna be, we're not getting paid for this advertisement. Like, we just genuinely love what we do there. So for those of you who don't know, like Civic Hacker is a social impact software solutions company that handles everything from, security to infrastructure to application, like anything you need.
Anything I say third party company wants, any services they need, through our mentor, Janelle, shout out to Janelle. We help supply any services that they, desire. And as you mentioned earlier, if you asked us about the company, we're gonna have nothing but great things to say. Man, just working for Civic Hacker and Janelle and the team, as well, it's just been so inspiring.
Even before that experience, because you do Python in Civic Hacker, were you working on that before?
On personal projects, but I wasn't doing it for work or anything.
Right. See, that's how I felt. I was like, coming on as a infrastructure cloud engineer, I was like, man, I done some freelance stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, I put my grandma's stuff on AWS, but I was like, I hadn't put this company of, that's making millions of dollars on there, and it was like, I think what Civic Hacker really does a great job of doing is eliminating the fear and like instilling that innovation comes with error. And so I think Janelle has done a really good job of like setting the tone of like, you have to fail. Like, and I think that sometimes we forget that. I was like, bro, I want this to be perfect the first time around. I need a place to kind of sandbox. And when it comes to like enterprise, when it comes to business and enterprise stuff like that, like, there's no better practice than doing it in the business. And I think, just kind of opening our eyes to like, bro, I'm gonna give you the reins to this. Like, I'm gonna be there with you. We're gonna go through this together. But like, you gonna mess up. Yeah. Like, that's the whole point. We want to get to the mistakes as fast as we can, so we can iterate to the best possible product or the best possible version of whatever that is we're trying to accomplish. And like, man. Oh, bro. Yeah,
and you're gonna fail, as you mentioned earlier. I just started a new position with a company in May as a cloud engineer.
Hey, congratulations! That's right. Congratulations.
And sometimes I feel uncomfortable about asking the questions, and I have tons of questions, because I've been working with Civic Hacker as a back-end apprentice for a little bit over a year, but before that, my only experience with tech was just personal projects. So I say that to say, like, I still feel new at all this. So even on my current job, I'm like, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? And sometimes I do feel uncomfortable about asking those questions. But with Janelle, it's like the door is wide open. He's just so inviting, and I don't feel scared to ask those questions. But him giving me that freedom, I do think I have more courage too, because I do eventually
Right.
ask those questions on the job, and I think he's given me more courage. And of course my team that I work with, they're very inviting, and they tell me like, hey, we understand you're going to make mistakes. So if it's anyone out there who's interested in getting in tech, and you might get put on a new team, if they're not, they don't have that understanding and they're really hard on you about making mistakes, maybe you want to reevaluate that, because I think that everybody should be, open and understanding that mistakes are going to happen.
It's so many factors that go into that, especially like with businesses. Don't get me wrong, I understand like as the business as a model is to like, hey, we're trying to profit, and so we're trying to like, we can't just have everything broken, and like I definitely do understand that. But like also finding the balance between like, we know mistakes are gonna happen, and like, you know what I'm saying, when they brought you on, like you've proven competent. You know what I'm saying? Obviously you've proven competent. And so like how they handle mistakes becomes the biggest thing. And it's just, yeah, man, like we more into it. You said I wanted to get into some of your origins, like especially your crossover into tech. How did you discover it? Like, how did you happen upon this space? I know we've been in this industry, you know what I'm saying, for a minute now, but I'm always interested to know like what sparked your curiosity with that.
Sure. So what got me into tech is, I know we were talking about this earlier, video games. And it seems like video games kind of brought a lot of people into technology. But I had a group of friends, we actually were like, I guess you could say hacking games back in the day, which like on the old modems, I hope that's, a modem or router, you can hit like a standby button and it would freeze the games for the other players, but your team could still move around on maps and everything. We were using Game Shark that came preloaded with hacks. We were stopping our disk in the system, like messing with the game. So we were just doing little hacks. And at that time, I felt like I was hacking the world, you know what I'm saying?
Y'all was
like,
the Ocean's 11 of video.
I was little, like putting a knife like in my system, like to stop the disk during the game, while someone else is like hitting the button on the router. So like,
now, if you don't mind me asking, what time period was this, Brandon?
dude, man. So this was, I'm gonna have to refer to games. So like Halo 2.
Okay,
Halo
so
3.
we talking about like
This is
the turn of the century, like 2000s, 2005, like some of that.
Yep.
And so that's like when the first iteration of Xbox came out, like, cause I remember Game Shark vividly, and I'm just like, man, if I could, you know what I'm saying? Like, you hate it when it happened to you, but like when you have the power,
this is crazy.
like, hey, this is too nice. But I know one of those things that we were discussing earlier was like the artistic draw that tech has that I really think can't be understated, that drew a lot of us into this space. Like tech was, I think I saw tech as something artistic before I saw it as anything else, and I didn't even realize it at the moment. Like playing these video games, like the ability to take the visual and then be interactive with it in a way that like no one's ever seen before. Like I'm Sonic the Hedgehog, you know what I'm saying, I'm a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but like you take it one step further and it's like, you know what, I can do even better than that. Like with a Game Shark, you're like, I can control who wins, you know what I'm saying? I can turn the odds. It's just like it's power in the palm of your hand that you did not think as a, you know what I'm saying, as a middle schooler, as a high schooler, that you should have.
Right.
Like, oh man, I'm dangerous with a controller in my hand. And so like I think it's a really beautiful experience. But like, how did, were y'all doing like tournaments? Was this just like a thing? Was like, oh, we're gonna see like what codes came out today, or like?
So it was like they would have clans on there, clan matches. So it's like little mini tournaments. Okay. And then the thing about old gaming too, like I always tell people, like gaming now is not the same. So like ranks back in the day was serious. Like the way like ranks now, I don't think you can move backwards. I think some games you can kind of move backwards, but you might not progress as quickly as others, but it's no moving back. But like back in the day, your rank could decrease after like 1 or 2 losses. So like if you, like me and my friends, if we maybe lost 2 games, we would stop playing for that day. Like
it was that serious.
So it was serious. So we were just like, rank was just serious. Like I think games were more serious back in the day, like more competitive. Now they try to balance everything. Like they'll split teams up for balance. Back in the day, if it was this stacked team over here, like y'all just had to train up to get as good as this other team.
So you and your best squad, what was the game that y'all like nobody was touching y'all in?
Halo 2, and Halo 3, man. That changed the game right there. Inspirational.
The innovation of the shooter. Shout out to Bungie and the work that they still. It's crazy, like 20 something years. Like Bungie been around. I was like, golly. But yeah, that like. That whole artistic experience is like kind of what got you there. Like, so afterwards, what space did you navigate to then? Like, hey, I do like video games. What made you like, what started getting you to the path of developer or like just kind of engineer?
Well, I guess what really got me on the path of being a developer is, so it was after I graduated from undergraduate, I went to UT Chattanooga, and I didn't study computers, but you know, I like to study, and I found myself having all this downtime. So I was like, I mean, I might as well just try to take a programming class. So I found this it's Python for Everybody. I think that's what it's called, through Coursera. I took that, completed it, and I was like, okay, this is actually something I think I could. Maybe I could do.
Did they have you build anything in there? Do you remember what you built?
It was, I mean, like little scripts. It was no applications that you build. You're just doing some like logic, looping, indexing, things like that. Just the basic fundamentals. But you know, just that made me realize, like, it just gave me a better understanding. Because like growing up, I was, you know, it was no programmers in my family. None of that. So I really didn't even know what programming was. It was like me and my friends, we wanted to go to school to make video games. But when I went to school, I was just like, what is that? It's like, okay, people programming video games, but what is that? So when I took the class and I saw what programming is, I was like, oh, okay, like this makes a little bit more sense. I think I could do this.
Yeah.
But around that time, I started getting into making films. Just little videos. I was doing live streaming. It was this company, I think they were called livestreams.com. They sold this broadcaster that you could hook up wirelessly to internet. And you could, I bought a broadcaster, I had a camcorder, hooked the broadcaster to the camcorder, and then connected the broadcaster to the Wi-Fi on my phone. So then I was just like out live streaming. And you know, like I said, this was before like all the Facebook live stream, all these other social media.
Yo, that's pretty, I was gonna say, that's pretty tricked out for like what you doing at that time. As soon as you started to explain it, I was like, oh, my man had like a setup pre, you know what I'm saying, pre-social platforms. And was that like, it sounds like an enjoyable experience. Was it kind of like, hey, this just followed me through life, or was like, hey, this is gonna be like an experience for me to just kind of learn something new? Had you had like video experience before?
I took like a media class in high school my freshman year, so it was like a broadcasting class, just a little experience. I don't know what really got me into it, like what made me buy the camera. I think it was just like I like doing different hobbies, so it was probably just like the hobby of the time. Let's try to do some filming. So got the camera, then I was like, oh, live streaming, this would be cool. Found out about the broadcaster, so did that whole thing. But so I've always wanted to like do some teaching and whatnot, but I feel like I would be a terrible teacher. So I was like, well, what if I could like create a show, like a live stream show that's like, I'm trying to teach people, but it's not like we're doing formulas and things. It's like telling a story, and I'm like trying to like just spark interest in technology and avenues that I want you to go through telling stories. So this was like, man, right around before like the elections where Trump got elected to president. So around this time, man, it seemed like it was a lot of division in America, a lot of division going on around me. So I was like, oh, and around this time too, I was like getting really intrigued with artificial intelligence.
That's right.
So I was like, man, what if I created a story where it's like I'm talking about how artificial intelligence is trying to take over the humans, and the AI is trying to like pit people against each other, and my story is going to talk about like how humans must unify to like go against this like artificial intelligence, like kind of just creating us like a unified enemy, if you will, to just get people together. But so like when I started doing episodes and like writing little scripts of like how an AI could like influence humans to like go against each other, like I was like, hold on, like what I'm writing about is like seems like what's going on really around me, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay, this was just supposed to be a story, but I'm like, is what I'm writing about, am I writing about like what's going on to myself? Like, you know what I'm saying? It started getting a little creepy, you know what I'm saying? So then I started, okay, you got a question?
No, I was gonna say that fueled like some of the learning that you had like juxtaposed to the tech space. Like, all right, like now because usually like especially with like science fiction, it was like, all right, I want to see what aspects of AI that I can incorporate in this. You know what I'm saying? Because you know there's always well, that wouldn't happen in AI. It ain't code like that. I remember what got a lot of flag back? Mr. Robot. Mr. Robot, that was one of those shows where like it was kind of under a microscope of like, hey, is he really using like terminal Linux commands, or like is he doing it? And I was like, that I guess when you're in the industry, that plays an important role to you, especially when you get the perspective of it. But I don't know if it necessarily, I'm curious if it takes away from the story for other people, especially those who, you know what I'm saying, have no reference point of tech. And it's just like, oh, okay, he's doing something cool on the computer.
Yeah, and I tried to have like the stories where someone who wasn't in technology or understands AI, because I still feel like I don't understand what it is, but I like talking about it. But I tried to reach people who might not know what AI is. Maybe they just heard of the term. Yeah. And I really wasn't so much as focused on the people who might really be creating it. Like if they're gonna really be like, man, like he doesn't know what he's talking about. We don't use that technology in AI. But then I started to realize, okay, like if I'm gonna get serious with this like storytelling, I'm gonna need to still talk to those people. So that's what kind of started pushing me into the route of getting like start really studying about programming and things like that. So like when I stop and think about it, I'm like, man, I just like got into technology just to like, we were talking earlier, just to do something artistic. Like, I don't know if this is like the long, like ends, like the means ends for me, technology. It's really just to do art eventually.
And like, as you said it was, I never realized that I'd had that epiphany moment. Like for a lot of us, we had got that start and like in that artistic space. And it kind of went down a rabbit hole where you talk about video, visual, or audio. Like when you add tech to that equation, it has enhanced everything that we've done. Only enhanced everything that we've done artistically. Like when it comes to artists getting the word out about, you know what I'm saying, hey, I created this new video, I created this new piece, like they can get it to the masses much faster. When it comes to like obviously audio, you got your Spotify platforms and all that stuff, just reaching so many more ears, but also what you're able to do with music from a tech aspect. And I'm not necessarily no engineer when it comes to audio and video. I've been like lately, something that I've been practicing with is streaming, and like Twitch, and even in that space, there's been I didn't know there was so much that went into like the technical aspect of just like putting the perfect video together and then mixing that with the perfect audio and then making sure like everything lines up. I feel like this is a good moment to shout out Kenny Mac. Kenny Mac. Because like, sir, I don't think people truly have appreciation for something that other people do till they actually, try to put the shoes on.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying, in a sense. And so that is, but you talked about it earlier, and the reason I appreciate the video aspect, like kind of blending with the tech, is I think that's a quality that's similar in all developers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we enjoy just picking up something and kind of learning it.
Mm-hmm.
And so usually that comes with like an artistic expression, and you'll see it like people who come in this space. I know I have a lot of students who have either a musical background space,
Mm-hmm.
like writing, audio. I will go as far as to say, like, it's rare that you'll have someone who has like a CS degree,
Yes.
or information systems
Very
degree,
rare.
who's like,
Yeah.
I came in this from zero, like just doing math equations, and I was like, oh, okay, wow, like that feels like the rarity. I don't necessarily know what it is, but like at this point it feels, because when I talk to all of y'all, it's like it's an abundance of artistic perspectives that y'all have come in, and I think it's crucial that we have that in our code, because like that goes into the artistic ideals goes into our problem solving, and that's just, again, you get companies like Civic.
Right, man. Shout out to Jamil.
But yeah, man, so are you thinking about picking up video again? Is that something that you want to do?
Yeah, it's definitely something I want to do. I want to get into, like, try to maybe make a short film. I like to make 3. I have the idea for the first one, or like I haven't written the script. Well, it's crazy. It's like, I guess I did write the script because I wrote a story for I think it was Sanford, the school. They had this like global debate on artificial intelligence, and it was different subjects like that was open for people to, like, they had different subjects, and they allowed people from all over the globe to just put their input on these different subjects. So it was like like a fantasy type category, and it was like, write a story on just like, AI futurism or whatever. So I wrote a story for there, and it actually got like included, because they'll always have like every month like a follow-up email sent out, and they had like an excerpt or like a paragraph or something from my story included on there. So I was thinking about like using that story as like the script for one film, and I got the idea kind of for another film. And for the third one, I want to do something like open source. Like, I don't know how much I should talk about it, but like this like I'm starting to finally feel like I'm at the point where I can maybe involve technology. Like I said, I feel like literally like I've been studying technology for like 6-7 years now, and I think it's like, I think it's some divine, it's a whole nother path, divine influence that got me involved, but really just like I've been studying just to like eventually go back into art. Like, I don't know if that sounds crazy to some people, like, dang, that's all you really been doing, but yeah.
No, I think it definitely, like, it's cyclical as far as like that feeding each other, because I think the next question I was gonna ask you, does like some of the programming that you do inspire you to like, all right, I need to like creatively express myself in another avenue like videos, and like, does that cycle back around to like, all right, like now that I'm telling this story with video of tech, like I want to code something now and like trying to kind of problem solve? Because I know usually with tech, like some of the things that I feel like sometimes it's the most random things. I know for sure some things of like being around y'all and like coding, being around my peers and like watching them problem solve is a very like, all right, I need to get in the booth, like put something down. But I didn't know, I was curious of like, for you, when you're doing, when you're pursuing something outside of the space of like coding or programming, does it ever bring you back to like, oh, I think I need to code now. I feel like I need to get behind the keyboard again.
Not necessarily.
And then if it doesn't, what does, I guess, in a sense?
Like, what does bring me back is like when I might move away from technology for a while, and then I'll like come across some like coding that someone does or something tech related, then now it bring me back like, man, I need to, like, I'm really a junior, and when it comes to like my coding, my understanding,
I find myself saying it every day.
And it's funny with me because like when I get into hobbies, like I think I dive into it like, and I never like learn the terminology of things. Like I do skating and we got all these tricks, and like I don't know none of. I've been skating for years, but I don't know none of the names of the tricks. And then I've been programming, and people be talking about like classes and these and that. And I know some of the basics, but I still really don't know like all the terminology. I just know like how to do it
How it fits
almost,
together.
you know. And sometimes I feel bad about it, and then sometimes I'm just like, hey, it's just, you know, it is what it is. But then I feel like it's a level of respect to it. Like, hey, bro, you do need to learn the terms, and you know, because that's really gonna help you out with your fundamentals in speaking. And I do feel like it's power in speaking in words, and then. And with like, I know my wife, she's gonna get mad at me because I always say this, but when I grew up, I never made straight A's. Like, I don't feel like I'm the smartest dude,
Oh, we in the
and
club,
that's what makes me so shocked that I'm here. So when I'm studying technology, it takes me a while to learn it, but I always have to like tie in technology to life. Like that's what helps me. So when I was studying like just AI and like these. The networks. I forgot the networks, but like when you have like a good network and a bad network competing, and the good network is trying to like outgood the bad network, and the bad network is trying to outgood the good network, and it'll just make me think about life, like good and evil. Like that's how I think of like all technology. Like I always have like some earthly connection to it to help me learn it, because it is so hard for me to study these subjects. You know?
I think you talked about earlier, wanting to educate. I think what you just like hinted on is like, for me, what makes a good educator, because I as well am a slow learner. And so with my students, like they'll be on step like 7 or 8 of a problem, and like I have to literally like, all right, can we walk this back and slow this down and start from like step 1, not just for you, but like for me as well. And most every time, like 9 times out of 10, we find that like, oh, I missed something on my way to like getting here, and I focused on step 7, but really the problem was like back here. And it's because like my learning is, it can be methodical, is where like I had to learn to fall in love with repetition, because I was frustrated that I used to be frustrated when I was smaller. Like if I didn't get something on the first go, then I was like, oh, that ain't for me. That ain't for me. And so like the falling in love with learning, I think that was part of the process of falling in love with learning. Like what is learning, understanding what learning looks like for me. And that's repetition. As like, man, I'm gonna read this book and then I'm gonna read it again. And like you have a deep sigh, I was like, dang, I gotta read it again. But I think there's no greater joy in understanding like how you process something and how you learn, because at that point you become unstoppable.
Right.
And I think like you gravitate, when you understand that, you look for that with other people. And so that's why I was like, I'm not surprised that I'm coding with y'all. I'm not surprised that I'm at this company that rewards that. Like going back over and being just like meticulous and sometimes tedious, but understanding like the reward on the other side and who that makes you.
Right.
Yeah, and so I was like, man, I think I say that to say I think you have what it takes to be a great educator.
Thank you.
So now it's time to start. So we're gonna get that channel set up. That's what we're gonna do.
We can do it. Yeah, we got to get something going, man. Especially working with Civic Hacker. You know, the resources he provides us. It's like, you know, giving us the opportunity to do something. You know, in that space. So yeah, we definitely have to meet up and do something. But you know, for me, I think emotions are big, which again, like if you like know me personally, you're probably like, man, Brandon's just so like stoic and always like monotone. But I have all these emotions inside me. But like when it comes to learning, sometimes I learn to the point where I feel like I have a good understanding of it. But sometimes I just learn something where I feel like now I have a certain emotion of that subject. Maybe emotion of like curiosity that then leads me down another path. And I think that's why I like about stories, and I try to teach through stories. Like, you know, I'm not gonna get really technical where it's gonna satisfy the techies. Like, oh, I'm gonna show some Linux commands. Like, no, I just want to show some technology to the layman that gives them emotion inside. To then maybe they carry that emotion their whole life. Like, man, I saw this video that just had something in it that just was really cool, that inspired me to get in technology. Because again, like my videos, media, seeing artificial intelligence, watching these movies about robots, that gave me emotion inside that I carry with me, and I feel like led me to this point where I'm talking to you. So I think like sometimes you maybe not even have to learn something to like when you reach an understanding, but it learns something to the point where it gives you an emotion.
Yeah,
because
that invokes the feeling, the thought invokes feeling, and then the feeling invokes action.
Right.
And then like the action that you get from that, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, it moved me to do something, and isn't that what, you know what I'm saying? Usually art, like in that sense, for the most part does. And so, yeah, I really like that. I really like that. So tying the emotion, I'm gonna start thinking about that when I'm coding too. Like, how does this for loop make me feel?
The feeling, because you might find yourself in another situation where it's like it's a similar situation, but yeah, it's just that emotion just inspires you.
Because I think that leads to coding styles, and I never, almost like hey, this is what I usually do. So like you go to my code and you was like, hey, I use, for of loops, and then you'll go to somebody else's code and they have these traditional loops. And I was like, what's driving these persons to do that? And it's all like you said, leans towards like, this is how I feel about them. It's much easier. It's like, hey, it's much easier for me. And I was like, all right, well, it's easier when I do it this way. But I think honestly, there's some like, both of them work the same.
Yeah.
So like, how do you feel about them joints? So, I think that's really good. So, all right, where do you see yourself going, like from that? Where do you want to take tech in the future for yourself? Like, do you see this being like a full-time gig for you? Or being with you for the rest of your life as far as coding?
Yeah, I think it would definitely be with me for the rest of my life, but I'm still looking for that artistic avenue. Like, before I got my current job now, it's the first job I got from just applying and getting it. Like all my jobs, like leading up to now, like I knew someone in the organization, and I say all that to say like I probably got denied for like hundreds of jobs, like to get here, and then my mind's going blank. But like, I just want to do. So what I was gonna say, during those hundreds of interviews where I got denied, I told everybody like my end goal is something artistic. I'm still trying to find it.
Yeah.
Don't know if it's gonna be through film, visual, music, or whatnot. But I just love art. Like I think if you could be an artist and you're making tons of money, I know it's just not that easy. I think that's just like the greatest thing you could be. Just get paid to do art. I know it's stressful. I know it's tough when you make something that you think is just beautiful and awesome, and then you put it out to the world, and people are just like,
"It's all right."
Yeah, it's all right. I know that's tough, but I think if you can achieve it, like I think that's worth working hard for. Sometimes I'm I'm at work, and they're like, Brandon, we need this deadline. It's like hard. You really don't have that motivation to really work for. I mean, you got your bills and the money is on the line, but it's like like art, I feel like it's worth working hard for,
Yeah, I like that.
So that's where I see myself in teaching somehow. I hope I can be teaching, maybe not in the classroom, but just through some creative avenue.
I'm gonna say that's a media future. We can make that.
Right.
We can make that happen.
I ain't smart, man. I feel like I'm still a student. That's why. But it's so crazy because like I feel like for me to be a teacher, I need to be at a master level. But then I stop and ask myself. I was like, Brandon, like when you was learning technology, all you wanted was a mentor, and they didn't have to be a master. Like you just wanted to be like someone there, just ask questions. So I'm like, Brandon, you can't keep saying you gotta study to be a master. Like just sit down with young kid, like just have them ask you questions, because you know it'll make you realize you probably know a lot more than you know. Like I said again, I feel like I'm just a student, but
man, I think retaining the perspective of like the best teacher is a student of the game. Like I feel like you are in the best position right now to, you know what I'm saying, just show some folks some stuff. And I won't say the feeling of like not feeling like you're, you know what I'm saying, at this point yet it's gonna go away, but it definitely, like being able to articulate that and express that to other people helps them climb faster.
Right.
And so I was like, bro, I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what I'm doing.
And I was gonna ask you, if you don't mind me asking you, when did you feel like, okay, this is the time is right, I think I could be a teacher, you know, what was that switch in you?
So I think I first started at Pivot Tech, and one of the things that really kind of aligned for me was that I didn't know if I was qualified enough, and like I was like, bro, there's only one way to find out. Like you've been doing this, and so now like, hey, you know, you get a chance. And I think what was appealing was like all around there were new beginnings. So like when nobody knows what they doing,
Right.
I was like, oh, we all experts right now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, who are you to tell me like what, you know, what the standard should be when we're all starting from like
Right.
this, you know, the 0 point. And I think getting to like, you know, maybe if it was a university or like something that I was like, no, you don't want me to mess up your stuff. Like, you don't want me to mess up your stuff. But honestly, like I think that's what I look for. Like, all right, they, you know, of course, like now I've accumulated experience, and like I definitely feel better about that process now that you have, you know, once you have know-how, like people can't take it away from you. But I think that was one of the things I looked for, and that was the same thing. Like that was the same thing that helped me realize that Civic Hacker was the place that I wanted to be at, because we would jump in these spaces and it's like everybody's starting from, like we're all trying to build something from zero. So all of us are at zero, and we just bringing the experience that we had before. And so everything that you're contributing now is only a net it's a positive, and like you're just accumulating that from there. And so I was like, all right, cool. Like I can, I'ma still have this, you know, this biting, I don't know, feeling that like of like, oh man, am I really cut out to do this? But like kind of overpowering that is like, oh, like we're in this together.
Right.
Like we're in this together. And I think that really helps with that experience. That's why, you know what I'm saying, that's why I lean so heavily on y'all. And I think ultimately what gives me the confidence is like knowing that, you know, it's not just my experiences that I have, it's like my community experiences that come together with that. And I think that gives me like a very solid foundation.
Yeah, well, I definitely want to say much respect, you know, being a teacher, you know, like I said, it's something I inspire to, so definitely much respect, you know.
Oh, come on, man. Yeah, come on. Like, look, it's like we get you right there. With that, I wanted to, before we go out, Brandon, I wanted to ask the story. I see you got your Tanzania shirt. You recently came back off a trip. Was it recent or was it last year?
No, it was very recent, in September.
Okay.
Now it's November, just giving people time frame. Yeah, went to Tanzania and Zanzibar, and one of the ethnic groups there, the Maasai people, and this is a club that the men carry with them. They carry this, a walking stick, a knife with them, and they actually, you know, of course, you can clobber something with it, but they actually, one of the men told me they hunt lions and they throw it at the lions and actually like kind of stun them, and they run up on it and kill it. And it's actually like for the men or the young boys to become men, a rites of passage. I think that's what it's called. So they'll.
Can you hold that up again?
Yeah.
You hunt lions with that?
They
like
hunt
the
lions.
purpose is to hunt lions with
Of course, I guess
like,
protection, but yeah, hunt lions when the boys become men and they gotta kill a lion. They'll go out, all the men together, but then that one individual has to Kill the Lion.
All right, so I know what I'm searching on YouTube. Like, you know, I was like, and what's it? It's called what's?
The club.
just
I
the
think
club,
it probably has some, local name that I'm unfamiliar with, but a club, very dense wood. Yeah. So I just wanted to, bring something, show
that's
the
heavy.
people. Yeah. Went to Tanzania. Beautiful. Experience was absolutely beautiful.
How long you end up staying?
We were there for 2 weeks. We went on the Serengeti. We stayed out like in the camps, in the parks. Almost we got attacked by animal. That's a whole story too. But, yeah, man, amazing experience.
That's what's up.
And one of the biggest takeaways I got from there is like, of course they live more traditional lives there, but they also had like technology like intertwined really in a subtle way. And it was like of course Africa, black people, but I feel like the way they were living, I don't know how to explain it, man. Like the way they use technology, I feel like that's how we should use technology. We can still hold on to our customs, but we use it man, it's hard to explain. Just though they're balanced, they had a really nice balance.
I was gonna say that
it wasn't at the forefront
of society, just overpowered. Like it has its place.
It has its place.
And we're gonna use it to that extent. But like this is not gonna run our lives. We're not gonna have our faces in our I get it. I get it. Well, man, that sounds like a wonderful experience. Like everybody should probably have. With that,
How can we find him?
I'm gonna go. What? Yeah. How can you off the grid?
All right, yeah, I don't have no Instagram right now. I know my homies, if they see it, they're gonna make fun of me. But LinkedIn, Brandon Harden, you can find me. Just reach out, man. I'm always looking to collab on something. Like I said, if you into art, I'm trying to get there with you. All about community, Civic Hacker. So of course, man, if you're doing something in the community, something positive, please reach out to me, Civic Hacker Trev. We would love to collab with you. That's what it's really all about. So yeah.
Well, I know one place that people can find you on the Black Codes channel. Please subscribe to our YouTube, The Black Codes. The Black Codes. Am I missing something? Can he help me out?
Black Codes.
It's The Black Codes. All right. On Instagram, Twitter, all The Black Codes. I think on Twitter it's _The Black Codes. If Twitter still gonna be on after this.
No telling.
But yeah, we appreciate y'all. That's our guest, Brandon Harden. Again, my name is Trevor Gwynn. Like, subscribe, hit play, tell your friends. We appreciate y'all stopping through. Till then, y'all stick to the code.
Stick to the code. Peace.